talk about furthering the relationship. I've got a friend of mine, his photo is actually in your book, and I think you sent him one for free.
No, I didn't know the email addresses that people send me pictures. So I
Okay.
couldn't send them a book. I would have, but I didn't know how. What I did was, after people joined the tribe, I wanted to make it clear to them that I hadn't run it as some stunt to sell 3,000 extra books. So without telling them that I had done this, because I had all their addresses from their Amazon receipt that they had sent to get in, I had my publisher send them a second copy of the book. And the reason I sent them a second copy was, one, to show them I wasn't trying to make money off of them,
right,
in quotations, but second, because I wanted them to give it to a friend.
That's brilliant. And you know who does that a lot in the music industry? Christian. I've seen a lot of Christian bands do it, because the whole part of Christianity is witnessing. Sure. They're trying to grow
the
tribe.
evangelical thing.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, there's a woman named Lori Berkner who's a kids folk singer in New York, and I had lunch with her 6 years ago, and we were talking, and I said, how many CDs does the average family buy once they buy, because it's for 4-year-olds? And she said, 4. And the reason you buy 4 is because after your kid has played one song, Victor Vito, I can sing it to you if you want, hundreds of times, you need another album to take its place, right? So given that she's self-published, she makes $8 a CD,
right,
and that the average family is going to buy 4, there's a huge incentive to help people spread the word. So what I told her to do, I have no idea if she did, I think she did, is every time someone buys one by mail, send them 2 of the same CD. Without telling them you're going to do this. Just send them 2. Well, now if you have a second one, what are you going to do? It's not going to wear out, like you have to keep it in reserve.
Right.
And lots of other 4-year-olds.
Right.
So you give it to a family with a 4-year-old, and the virus spreads.
Right. Speaking of virus, you got a book called Idea Virus, which I think is just brilliant, and you actually were giving it away. We always hear in the music industry, I'm sure you've heard this, scared, downloads, but you actually gave this book away.
Still do.
And it's still selling.
So here are the facts. The book is about how ideas spread, so I wanted to take my own advice. The year was 2001, and I said, I got to take my own advice. So I took the entire book and put it for free online, ideavirus.com. You can still go get it. It's the most downloaded ebook of all time, more than 3 or 4 million copies out there now, all for free. Then people started sending me emails saying, I love this book, but I hate reading it on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Will you please let me have a book? Well, a book is a souvenir. You already know the idea. The book is the thing you can hold and share, just like a T-shirt from Disney World. So we self-published a book, $40, which 8 years ago was a lot of money for a 200-page hardcover.
Yeah.
Put on Amazon, no discount, $40. It went to number 5 on their bestseller list. Then someone bought the Japanese rights. It went to number 4. Then I sold the rights in 12 other countries. Then I sold the paperback rights, even though I didn't want to, but a publisher offered me a bunch of money. So I sold more copies of the book I gave away for free than almost any other book I've ever written. So when someone tells you, don't give it away for free, let's go sue these guys at Pirate Bay, they're nuts.
Well, Pirate Bay being, of course, a torrent site that the whole entertainment industry is terrified of. Talk about that, like the status quo. How is the status quo hurting music? Because things like the Pirate Bay are really shaking it up, but status quo is also hurting music as well.
Well, you see, either you go first or you go last. And if you go last, you're not remarkable. If you go last, people have already solved their problem, whatever the problem is. So if you're the last big drug company to come out with a brand of analgesic, no one's going to buy it because they've already picked their brand.
Right.
So is it possible to portray a future in which music is not shared? The answer is no. There is no way to view the future 3 years from now, no matter how successful any lawyer is, where music is not widely shared. So assume that every person will have access to every song. What's the win? The win is when you control the playlist. The win is when you're the tastemaker. The win is when everyone is listening to your song. Because other people are going to want their song to be listened to, but you won. You got out there first. So the way you win is not being the last band to say grudgingly, okay, we're going to give one single away. Mm-hmm. The way you win is you're the first big band to give your whole thing online free. That's what Radiohead did, right? A whole thing. It's free. And if you want to buy the souvenir, if you want to join the tribe, if you want to interact, that costs money.
Right.
And guess what? The people who do that first win. By the time the bands that are now thinking about it do it, it's going to be too late.
Well, I think about, like Microsoft, for example, which pretty much controls the PC market based on the operating system. They could have given away the operating system and probably still made as much money, if not more money. Well,
the Microsoft example is interesting. Microsoft makes more money on a Dell computer than Dell does. Most people don't know that. That when you buy a Dell computer for $500, Microsoft makes $90 for the operating system. So that was good money when you could get it.
Oh, yeah.
But they set the stage for Linux, right? Because Linux, the free alternative, is free. Mm-hmm. And because it's free, it's going to spread. It's
Right.
going to be adopted. Dell now offers a Linux computer. Why wouldn't it?
Right.
Once Linux wins, guess what? Word is threatened. Excel is threatened. All the other software Microsoft makes is threatened. So what Microsoft ought to do is make a version of Linux for $5. Because then if you have a choice between the free unsupported version of Linux or the $5 Microsoft version of Linux that also supports Microsoft Word Linux and Microsoft Excel Linux, then they can be first. But if they wait until market share is going down, people aren't using Windows anymore, Linux becomes the standard, too late. We've already trusted something else and you lost.
Well, I think when you said interact first, sell second, and that's really what it's about. It's about the relationship that you have with people, and it's getting out there before they do it themselves.
Right. I mean, think about the words that the music industry uses. They talk about breaking new acts. What does breaking mean exactly? What are you breaking when you break a new act? Right? What you're breaking is the attention barrier that people have about a new act.
Right.
That you are breaking into someone's permission. You are breaking the promise that you have to be in front of them. Music labels spend almost all their time trying to break something open instead of all their time growing things, nurturing things, making things thrive. And that is how you win. So that when you look at an artist who could have a tribe, you know, the way the Grateful Dead had a tribe, if the Grateful Dead put their arms around somebody, right? This is Bo Diddley. We want to introduce you to Bo Diddley. Yeah, that's not breaking anymore, right? What you've done is you've double dated and you've grown the permission and you've reached a whole new audience. That's what record companies could do for a living now. They could build tribes and cross-pollinate them.
So one piece of advice for all our independent musician and label listeners, what would it be?
I think if you're an independent musician, you need to measure something different. And what you need to measure is how many people, if I wrote to them tomorrow, would be delighted to hear from me. Not willing to hear from me, but delighted to hear from me. And I'd add to that, and if I forgot to write to them, how many of them would come back and complain, right? That's what permission is. And I believe that in the future, the musician with the biggest asset, the one who has the most permission to talk to the most people with the most passion, wins.
There's something that I didn't ask you that I should have.
This was great. You did way more research than almost anybody. I really appreciate it. You could have asked me about the Seth Godin limited edition action figure.
I'd love to have one.
It is limited merely by the number of people who are willing to buy it. But I didn't make it. A company called Archie McPhee did. It's 100% for charity. I don't get any money from it. It comes with a little tiny book of spells and a free prize inside.
Okay.
And it unfortunately looks exactly like me.
And where can people find it?
Just type Seth Godin action figure into the Google, and there it is.
Okay. And where can people? How can people join your tribe?
Type Seth into Google. You'll find my blog. There's 3,000 posts there, and once you start reading the blog, you'll see where else it leads.
You're everywhere.
Not everywhere. I'm not In fact, I'm delighted that I'm not everywhere. Most people have no idea who I am, which is perfect.
Well, you have to have a little bit of a scarcity. We're talking about scarcity, so you don't want to have the be everything to everyone, right?
Yeah, I mean, the fact is there aren't that many people in the world who think about marketing, and among the people who think about marketing, some of them think about me. I'm flattered that that's true, but I don't want to be everywhere. I want to be a meaningful specific, not a wandering generality, as my friend Zig would say.
Well, you have certainly an evangelist, and you've gotten me and my crew here up early.
And I think you just stayed up all night, skipped the whole...
I would have. I really appreciate the time. It's been such an honor to sit down with you. And again, thank you very much. And everybody should pick up Tribes and just type in Seth Godin at Amazon.com. I mean, I was going to ask the question, for the music industry, which one book should they pick up? And I think Tribes would be great, but Purple Cow is great. Idea Virus is great.
Yeah,
all the ones we've
there's
talked
a bunch
about.
of free ones. I don't care if you read a free one. I'm in the business of spreading ideas, not selling stuff. So if you type Idea Virus in, that's old, but worthwhile. If you go to squidoo.com/Seth, SQUIDOO.com/Seth, you'll see a list of books with comments, and also all the free ebooks are all right there.
And Pirate Bay?
You know, I've never been to Pirate Bay, so I can't say anything about it one way or the other. I have an addiction. I own $20,000 worth of CDs, 2 a week for the last 20 years.
Right. No, I'm just kidding you. But you've got a great attitude, and thank you so much for being here on Music Business Radio.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this special internet exclusive episode of Music Business Radio. Our guest today was Seth Godin, hosted by David Hooper, audio engineering by Gary Crane, Pro Tools editing by Dan Buckley. and Lester got the backstage passes. Special thanks to Jeff Walker from Aristo Media for interview coordination. For more information on Music Business Radio, including full episodes and syndication information, visit us online at musicbusinessradio.com.